After learning this module, you will be able to understand the concept of multiple linear regression model and differentiate it from the simple linear regression model. We would also be able to understand how to estimate the parameters using ordinary least square with a different formula and interpret the regression coefficients. You shall also be able to understand the difference between unadjusted and adjusted R square. Until now, we have been dealing with the simple linear regression where the dependent variable y relates to only one explanatory variable x. However, it is seldom that the variations in the variable y can be explained only by one single explanatory variable. Certainly, there would be other variables affecting y. In the earlier example of earnings and schooling, in our earlier module, we saw that level of schooling positively affects the hourly earnings. Nevertheless, there are other variables like parental education, work experience, age, etc. that also affects earnings. Multiple regression model without doubt is preferred to simple regression model. However, the analysis has to be carried out carefully as there are dangers of including an irrelevant variable and excluding a relevant variable. Any of the two would lead to specification bias, a topic which we will deal later in the course. Therefore, a model where a dependent variable depends on several independent variables is known as multiple regression model. For example, a model with k plus 1 parameter is as below, where I is the observation. In this model, we denote yi equal to beta 1 plus beta 2 x12 plus beta 3 x13 or xi3 plus so on till beta k xik plus ui. This is our equation 1. In this, yi is dependent variable, xi or x2 to xk are explanatory variables, beta 1 is the intercept, and beta 2, beta k or beta 3, beta k, they are all our slope coefficients, and our mu I is the error term. Certainly, there is no upper limit on the number of independent variables, although there is a cost, as we can see later and also mentioned above. There is a lower limit though, and that lower limit is that n must be greater than or equal to k. N must at least be equal to k, where n is the number of observations which we have. It is now time to derive the regression coefficients. We shall deal with its interpretation afterwards once we understand the coefficients. So let's understand the estimation of regression coefficient. For the sake of simplicity, let us take the case of just two explanatory variables and denote our equation 1 as yi is equal to beta 1 plus beta 2 xi2 plus beta 3 xi3 plus ui, which is our second equation. The estimated model is denoted as yi hat is equal to beta 1 hat plus beta 2 hat xi2 plus beta 3 hat xi3. This can be written as our third equation. As in simple regression model, the next step is to find the best linear estimators. Clearly, there are three unknown parameters, beta 1, beta 2 and beta 3. So applying OLS, the procedure begins with minimizing the residual sum of the squares, which are denoted as EI equal to yi minus yi hat. This is our fourth equation. So residual sum of the squares, RSS, is equal to sigma EI square, where I is from 1 to n. and this can be written as sigma yi minus beta 1 hat minus beta 2 hat xi2 minus beta 3 hat xi3 whole power 2, and I ranges from 1 to n. This is our equation 5. So if you take the partial derivatives and try to minimize the sum of the squares of the errors, then we take the derivative of this residual sum of the squares with respect to beta 1, beta 2 and beta 3. What we find is on derivative RSS upon derivative of beta 1 hat is equal to minus 2 into sigma yi minus beta 1 hat minus beta 2 hat xi2 minus beta 3 hat xi3 is equal to 0. This is our equation 6. Similarly, if you take the derivative of RSS with respect to beta 2 hat, we obtain this equal to minus 2 into sigma xi2 into yi minus beta 1 hat minus beta 2 hat xi2 minus beta 3 hat xi3 equal to 0. This is our equation 7. Derivative of RSS with respect to beta 3 hat is equal to minus 2 into sigma xi3 into yi minus beta 1 hat minus beta 2 hat xi2 minus beta 3 hat xi3 equal to 0, and is equation 8. You can see a kind of a symmetrical expression between equation 7 and 8. So there are 3 normal equations and 3 unknowns, therefore they can easily be solved to derive the estimators. And equation 6 can be simplified as sigma yi minus beta 1 hat minus beta 2 hat xi2 minus beta 3 hat xi3 equal to 0 is our equation 9. And in this sigma, in fact in all the sigmas, let me clarify, our I ranges from 1 to n. This equation 9 can be simplified to be equal to sigma yi, I ranges from 1 to n, minus n beta 1 hat minus beta 2 hat into sigma xi2, I ranges from 1 to n, minus beta 3 hat into sigma xi3, I ranges from 1 to n, and is equal to 0. Now this can be rewritten as ny bar minus n beta 1 hat minus beta 2 hat nx2 bar minus beta 3 hat nx3 bar equal to 0. Now dividing the equation throughout by n and rearranging the term, you may find that it can be simplified as y bar is equal to beta 1 hat plus beta 2 hat x2 bar plus beta 3 hat x3 bar. Now this is similar to our 2 variable regression equation number 1. Now therefore we can see from this equation that we can write down beta 1 hat to be equal to y bar minus beta 2 hat x2 bar minus beta 3 hat x3 bar, and we can write down this equation as equation 10. Similarly, if you solve equation 7 and 8 together, we may find we can write down sigma xi2 into yi minus beta 1 hat minus beta 2 hat into xi2 minus beta 3 hat xi3 equal to 0, and can be written as equation 11. Similarly, equation 8 is simplified, and we have a new equation which is sigma xi3 into yi minus beta 1 hat minus beta 2 hat xi2 minus beta 3 hat xi3 equal to 0, and you can rewrite this as equation 12. So these equation 11 and 12 are 2 normal equations, and solving these could be a tedious job, but for simplicity we can transform them into deviations from mean and express them in lowercase letters. Now taking the mean in this equation, we get y bar equal to beta 1 plus beta 2 x2 bar plus beta 3 x3 bar plus mu bar which is our equation 13. So this is in a way rewriting the earlier equation 2 in terms of mean. Now subtracting this 13 from 2 will give us the model in deviation form, and this model can be written as small yi is equal to beta 2 into small xi2 plus beta 3 into small xi3 plus ei, and we can write down this as equation 14. If we ignore this I subscript, because we know by now that I ranges from 1 to n, the 11th and 12th equation can be written as sigma x2 into y minus beta 2 hat x2 minus beta 3 hat x3 equal to 0, and is equation 15. Similarly, we also obtain sigma x3 into y minus beta 2 hat x2 minus beta 3 hat x3 equal to 0, and this is our equation 16. So the two normal equations are beta 2 hat into sigma x2 square plus beta 3 hat into sigma x2 x3 equal to sigma y x2. This is equation 17, and similarly beta 2 hat into sigma x2 x3 plus beta 3 hat into sigma x3 square is equal to sigma y x3, and is equation 18. So please remember, all these x which we are using now are in deviation forms, are in small case letters. So let us substitute s22 equal to sigma x2 square into similarly s23 equal to sigma x2 x3 and s33 equal to sigma x3 square. Similarly, we can write sy2 equal to sigma y x2 and sy3 as sigma y x3. These are just abbreviations which we are using. Then we obtain beta 2 hat into s22 plus beta 3 hat s23 equal to sy2, and we can denote it as equation 19. Similarly, we also obtain beta 2 hat into s23 plus beta 3 hat s33 equal to sy3, and is our equation 20th. Now solution to above two normal equations are simple, and they are that beta 2 hat is now equal to sy2 minus beta 3 hat s23 upon s22, and we can denote this as equation 21. Now substituting this into equation 20, we may obtain sy2 minus beta 3 hat s23 upon s22 into s23 plus beta 3 hat s33 equal to sy3. And if you simplify this, we may obtain beta 3 hat into s33 minus s23 square upon s22 is equal to sy3 minus sy2 into s23 upon s22. On simplification, therefore, we obtain beta 3 hat equal to s22 into sy3 minus sy2 into s23 upon s22 into s33 minus s23 square, and this is our now equation 22. Substituting this into equation 21, we get beta 2 hat equal to s33 into sy2 minus sy3 into s23 upon s22 into s33 minus s23 square. This is our equation 23. In estimating the parameters, the procedure is same as in a simple linear regression model. However, the procedure for deriving the slope parameters is not as simple. It becomes complicated in k variable case. Therefore, in a k variable case, we can have beta 1 hat is equal to y bar minus beta 2 hat x2 bar minus beta 3 hat x3 bar, so on till beta k hat xk bar. The derivation for the slope parameters becomes very complex, and this analysis is generally done using matrix algebra, which we are leaving for the appendix, which you can refer. Anyone who is interested in this matrix calculations can look at that. So having obtained the parameters, let us now try to interpret the estimated parameters. In our two variable case, beta 1 is the intercept. It is the mean value of y when the explanatory variables are 0. So as mentioned earlier, beta 2 and beta 3 are slope coefficients, likewise in simple regression model. However, there is a slight change in the terminology here. They are now called partial slope coefficients. So beta 2 represents the average change in y due to a unit change in variable x2, keeping the value of x3 constant. Hence the name partial, as we are interested in finding out the effect of x2 on y, and by separating the effect of x3, one can find out the change in y attributed to change in x2 only. Likewise for beta 3. So let us illustrate with an example below. yi is equal to 10 plus 6xi2 plus 2xi3. Beta 2 here is 6. Suppose we hold x3 constant at 5, we get yi is equal to 10 plus 6 xi2 plus 2 into 5, which gives us this to be equal to 10 plus 6 xi2 plus 10, and hence we get the equation which is equal to 20 plus 6 xi2. So beta 2 6 implies that the average value of y increases by 6 with an unit increase in x2, holding x3 constant, in our example equal to 5. The interpretation remains the same irrespective of the value at which x3 is held constant. The value does not affect the slope parameter as it is summed up with the intercept. You must have observed that the value 10 is added with the intercept 10 to give us a new intercept of 20. Similarly, now holding x2 constant at, for example, 2, we get yi is equal to 10 plus 6 into 2 plus 2xi3, which is same as equal to 10 plus 12 plus 2xi3, hence equal to 22 plus 2xi3. Therefore, beta 3 equal to 2 implies that the average value of y increases by 2 with an unit increase in x3, holding x2 constant. Therefore, multiple regression allows us to differentiate the effect of an explanatory variable on the dependent variable. Let us just continue with our example 2 in module 8, the earlier module of a two-variable linear regression, except that we include an extra explanatory variable, that is experience. Thus, the estimated model now becomes equal to earnings hat or expected earnings equal to minus 26.49 plus 2.68s plus 0.56 exp. Intercept is negative, implying that when the level of education or schooling and experience are 0, average hourly earnings of an individual will be negative. Now, this does not make any economic sense, as you can perhaps make out that earnings cannot be negative, and therefore it can be easily ignored. The coefficient of schooling suggests that with an extra year of schooling, average hourly wage increases by 2.6 units, which is dollar in the present example, keeping experience constant. Similarly, the coefficient of experience suggests that average hourly wage increases by $0.56 with an additional year of experience, keeping schooling constant. Let's take another example, example 2. In this we have the estimated value of price hat, equal to 130 plus 0.24 SFT minus 20 BDR minus 14 BATHR. In this case, SFT is square feet, BDR is the number of bedrooms, and BATHR is the number of bathrooms, and price is the price of a house. So let us look at another estimated example where we want to understand what influences the property prices in dollars in this case, which could be in rupees or any other currency. So we have included three explanatory variables. These are SFT, the square feet area of the house or the property, the BDR, as I said, the number of bedrooms, and the number of bathrooms as BATHR. So before attempting to interpret, one should look at the signs of the coefficients. Notice that the sign of both BDR and BATHR are negative, going beyond our expectations. This means that with an increase in a bedroom or bathroom, the property price would go down by, let's say, $20 or $14. In fact, it should be opposite. An extra room should increase the price. This emphasizes on the importance of holding other variable constant or other things being equal. The interpretation of the coefficients would be meaningful only when we include other things being equal. Therefore, keeping other things equal, an extra bathroom would lead to a fall in the average price of the property by $14. This is a reasonable argument, as by keeping square feet and bedroom the same, an extra bathroom means splitting up the given area to make room for a bathroom, hence smaller rooms demanding lesser price. Let's now look at what are the underlying assumptions and try to revisit some of these classical linear assumptions in this section. The properties of the estimators, which are unbiasedness, efficiency, and consistency, is contingent on the classical linear assumptions. In this section, we shall revisit the assumptions, however, in relation to the multiple linear model. What are the assumptions? The first assumption is that the model is linear in parameters. So if I rewrite my model and try to show it to you, we said yi is equal to beta 1 plus beta 2, xi2 plus beta 3, xi3, so on till beta k, xik plus mu I. Now this is same as in simple linear regression analysis. In the above model, we assume that the sample contains n random observations. It is important to assume that none of the explanatory variables is correlated with the error term, especially if x is random. Xi's can also be given, i.e., fixed and repeated samples. If correlation is found, we encounter a problem known as endogeneity problem, wherein estimates of the regression coefficients are biased. Now this leads us to our next assumption. What is that next assumption? Which is our assumption 2. It is that C of x and mu is 0. C means correlation between x and mu is 0. Now this is in the case where xi's are non-random. A simple proof can help comprehend the meaning of this assumption. So we are saying that C x mu is equal to expected value of x mu minus expected value of x into expected value of mu. This is equal to x into expected value of mu minus x into expected value of mu equal to 0, on the assumption that x is non-stochastic, and therefore the expected value of x is x because it is fixed in a repeated sample and they are non-random therefore. So what is our next assumption? The next assumption is that error term has 0 mean. This can be written as expected value of mu given x to be equal to 0. Even though this above assumption states that expectation of the error term given x is 0, law of iterated expectations implies that it is also true for unconditional mean as well. That is, expected value of mu is 0. This assumption helps in interpreting the deterministic part of the model. I am sure I can remind you, we have said earlier the model has two parts. The first part, which is related to x, is the deterministic part, and the second part related to mu I is the stochastic part. Next assumption, assumption 4 of no perfect multicollinearity. What is multicollinearity and why this assumption is made? Multicollinearity is defined as a linear relation between any two explanatory variables. Now, this is the new addition when compared with the simple linear regression. For an estimator to be blue, it is required that there exists no perfect relationship between any two explanatory variables. However, if at all there is one such relationship, then it becomes difficult to estimate the population parameters and to differentiate the partial effect of an explanatory variable on the dependent variable. Assumptions 1 to 4 are sufficient conditions for the estimated parameters to be unbiased. By now, we should know that regression coefficients can be decomposed into two components, which are beta hat is equal to beta plus sigma ai mu I, where I ranges from 1 to n. And ai is defined to be equal to xi minus x bar upon sigma xi minus x bar square. I ranges from 1 to n. And this is our equation 24. Now, this is the case with only one explanatory variable. The second term in the equation 24 becomes complicated with the multiple linear model, that is, with more than one explanatory variables. However, matrix algebra helps us to solve and prove the properties of the estimated parameter. The property of unbiasedness does not get affected even in the presence of multicollinearity. Any linear relationship among the explanatory variables only affect the precision of these estimators. So, having understood these four important assumptions, we now move on to the fifth assumption of homoscedasticity. Here we say homoscedasticity basically means that the error terms are identically distributed, which means variance of mu is equal to sigma square. In other words, the variances do not depend upon the I value, but they are all the same, and that is why we say they are identically distributed. We have another important assumption, assumption 6 of no serial correlation. None of the error terms is related, that is, we say in this no serial correlation that covariance between mu I and mu j should be equal to 0 for all I not equal to j. Another important assumption is the assumption 7, where we say error term is normally distributed, that is, mu is normally distributed with mean 0 and variance sigma square. But this is to facilitate hypothesis testing. We do not require this assumption for estimation, and we would discuss this assumption in our discussion of hypothesis testing. So, assumptions 1 to 6 ensure that estimators from OLS are unbiased, efficient and consistent. That means they are best linear unbiased estimators, or known as blue. In this context, we have a very important theorem known as Gauss-Markov theorem that states that among all linear unbiased estimates, OLS estimators are the most efficient, that is, they have minimum variance. Before proving the theorem, let us find out the variance and standard error of the parameters. Variance of the estimators. Beta 2 hat is denoted to be equal to S33 sy2 minus sy3 into S23 upon S22 into S33 minus S23 square. Now, to find out the variance, we need the homoscedasticity assumption, as it simplifies the derivation. However, we do not show the proof here and simply state the formula as in Gujarati and Porter. Refer to the no more section for its derivation using matrix algebra. The formula is as follows, that variance of beta 1 hat is equal to 1 by n plus x2 bar square into sigma small xi3 square plus x3 bar square into sigma xi2 square minus 2 x2 bar x3 bar into sigma xi2 into xi3 whole divided by sigma xi2 square into xi3 square minus sigma xi2 xi3 whole square, and the whole multiplied by sigma mu square. Similarly, variance of beta 2 hat is equal to sigma xi3 square divided by sigma xi2 square into sigma xi3 square minus sigma xi2 into xi3 whole square into sigma mu square. Variance of beta 3 hat similarly is equal to sigma xi2 square divided by sigma xi2 square into sigma xi3 square minus sigma xi2 into xi3 whole square, and this multiplied by sigma mu square. So, to know the variance, we need to know the variance of the error term, which is sigma mu square. Therefore, the estimate of the error variance is as given here, which is sigma mu hat square is equal to sigma ei square upon n minus k, where ei is the residual, n is the number of observations, and k is the number of parameters, 3 in this current example of 2 explanatory variables. Let us now try to understand the goodness of fit. In simple regression model, R square was defined as variation in the dependent variable explained by the variation in the independent variable. That is, R square is equal to explained sum of the squares, that is ESS, upon total sum of the squares, which is TSS. So, ESS is explained sum of the squares and TSS is total sum of the squares. However, in multiple model case, ESS will imply variation in all the independent variable taken together. Thus, we can easily apply the concept to multiple linear regression. It is now called as multiple coefficient of determination. It can be shown that yi is equal to beta 1 plus beta 2 xi2 plus beta 3 xi3 plus mu I. Therefore, in deviation form, we find equation 14 from above. We can just rewrite that, and we get small yi is equal to beta 2 into small xi2 plus beta 3 into small xi3 plus ei, and ei therefore is equal to yi minus beta 2 xi2 minus beta 3 xi3. Taking this square and summation, we find the sigma ei square, which is equal to sigma ei into ei. This can be written to be equal to sigma ei into yi minus beta 2 xi2 minus beta 3 xi3. On simplification, this comes out to be equal to sigma ei yi minus beta 2 into sigma EI xi2 minus beta 3 into sigma EI xi3, and whole of this is equal to sigma EI yi on simplification, because you can see that sigma EI xi is 0, and similarly we can write down sigma EI xi equal to sigma xi into yi minus beta 1 minus beta 2 xi, which gives us this to be equal to sigma xi yi minus beta 1 sigma xi minus beta 2 into sigma xi square, and this is equal to 0 because this is the normal equation derived in the simple regression model. Thus we can say that this is equal to sigma yi minus beta 2 xi2 minus beta 3 xi3 into yi, and is equal to sigma yi square minus beta 2 into sigma yi xi2 plus beta 3 into sigma yi xi3. Hence this is equal to total sum of the squares minus error sum of the squares. Therefore our residual sum of the squares is equal to total sum of the squares minus the explained sum of the squares. Hence we can say that total sum of the squares is explained sum of the squares plus the residual sum of the squares, and r square is equal to error sum of the squares upon total sum of the squares, or is equal to 1 minus residual sum of the squares upon total sum of the squares. So let us just illustrate this above with an example using a software which is very common known as Gretel software, and we start with a simple regression model where we suppose that education only depends on aptitude, and below we are reproducing this output from this software from an example to explain the meaning of all these concepts which we have used so far. So we have model 1 where we have OLS using some observations of from 1 to 540. 540 are the number of observations, and our dependent variable in this case is education. The output gives us the constant, and we have the coefficient, standard errors, t ratios and p values. You are all familiar with all this, and we have the explanatory variable aptitude, and we have the coefficient, standard error, t ratios, p values of all these. And in the lower segment we have our other output which is mean and sum of the squares, r square, etc. The results show that a point increase in aptitude increases education level by 0.14 years, which is the coefficient of aptitude. The p-value of the coefficient is very small, implying that the coefficient is statistically significant. R square, you can note, is equal to 0.33, which means that 33% of the variation in education is explained by a student's aptitude. The number is quite low, which is indicative of the fact that some of the important variables are missing from the model. Now those variables could be both observable or unobservable, and maybe we do not know what are these variables. Let us add another variable that could explain the dependent variable. And so we have model 2. We are again using OLS, and we have the same number of observations and the same dependent variable education. But we have added mother's education as an additional explanatory variable, and we have again the similar output which is before you. We can see from this that the mother education also has a role to play in influencing the level of an individual's education. This is clearly seen in the results above. It is also seen that adding another variable has made a difference to the overall fit. R square has increased to 0.35. That means 35% of the variation in the education is now explained jointly by both aptitude and mother's education. Adding another variable would further influence the overall fit. In model 3, we add another variable, that is father's education. Although there is not a significant increase in R square, it is enough to claim that as we keep on adding more explanatory variables, the overall fit improves. Now, addition of any variable, whether related or not related to the model, will always increase R square. That is a statistical fact. So in model 3, we have the aptitude, the mother's education and the father's education. All three are included in this model. And although increased R square is indicative of a good model, such a method may not be desirable. To discourage the use of such practice in multiple linear regression, a different measure is looked at for analyzing the goodness of fit. It is called the adjusted R square. This gives the correct picture as far as the variability of the model is concerned. The measure adjusts for the loss in the degree of freedom that occurs by including an extra variable. The formula for calculation of R bar square or adjusted R square is as follows. This is denoted as R square and a bar, so we call it as R bar square, and is equal to 1 minus residual sum of the squares divided by degrees of freedom n minus k upon the total sum of the squares TSS divided by degrees of freedom n minus 1. On simplification, it can be written as equal to 1 minus n minus 1 upon n minus k into 1 minus R square. Please note that number 1, R bar square is less than or equal to R square when R square is equal to 1 and R bar square is equal to 1. This directly comes from the formula. Now, as k is greater than 1, n minus k is less than or equal to n minus 1, so R bar square is less than R square. Therefore, R bar square is less than or equal to R square always. Even though R square can never be negative, R bar square can fall below 0. We can say that high R bar square in no way implies statistical significance of the coefficients. Hypothesis testing of the regression coefficients is probably the most important part of the econometric analysis, without which the results will be ineffectual. We shall deal with that in more details in our subsequent modules. So let us now try to summarize what we have learned so far in this module on multiple regression. The module is an extension of simple linear regression model with more than one explanatory variable. It shows how regression coefficients are estimated in a general case and how the interpretation differs from simple linear model. This module also concludes with the concept of goodness of fit and adjusted R square. We have also learned how multiple linear model best explains the reasons and consequences of violation of classical linear assumptions.